welcome to the Eat Play Chug podcast, episode 11. I titled this one Goat Talk because Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won the Super Bowl, and we're joined now by my co-host Vince, as usual, and Gabe, who actually went to the game. Gabe.
Yes. And exactly how I said earlier. Please excuse me. I was excited and bubbly and on point the last time I spoke to you guys. That was ages ago. That's when Tom Brady only had 6 Super Bowls. He has 7 now, and my brain cells and motor functions have suffered accordingly.
And what a game. I'm looking forward to talking about it today.
It was incredible. Actually, come to think of it, I think pretty much everything that we covered last week happened. Pretty much everything.
Pretty much.
Yep. Defense got after him. I think you mentioned Antoine Winfield Jr., how that would be a huge thing. The 2, oh my God, that was incredible on Tyreek Hill, and then he gets the pick.
Yep.
Yeah, we went there dressed to impress, wore full suits because they were the most expensive tickets we'd ever buy to anything. And we looked good. We looked like we should be there. We were right in front of the pirate ship. It was absolutely absurd.
Brady, as we know, isn't young, but
So the first thing I actually wanted to ask you, Gabe. First thing I wanted to ask you, Gabe, is when I first turned on the game, I thought that stadium was packed. And then they panned over to the stands. I didn't see you, unfortunately, but I did see all of the cardboard cutouts of people, which looked like it would be difficult to sit next to or even sit because it looked like they filled up all the seats with cardboard.
Yeah.
So tell us, what was it like being at the game? Was it comfortable or was it awkward? What did it feel like?
So interestingly enough, that actually allowed for them to prevent seat moving, because in putting the cardboard people there that I'm sure it's all Bucks fans, Chiefs fans, whatever, they were also zip tying the seats together. So that way you could not sit down anywhere that wasn't designated for a ticket. Nice. We were able to kind of move around a little bit simply because, you know the ins and outs of your home stadium. But yeah, so that was a huge, huge part of it, but they did about as well as they possibly could at an event like that. Security was pretty on point. But the section we were in was extremely awesome because we were right in front of the pirate ship, right underneath where the weekend performed and stuff like that. And then, got to meet, what's his name? Scott Hansen. Is he, from, Red Zone?
Oh, I saw that photo.
Yeah. I was like, hey man, first of all, can't wait for the Red Zone to be back. Second of all, my dad doesn't know when to go to the bathroom on Sundays because of you. So great job. You've revolutionized watching football. But it was amazing. It was incredible. And to be in a home stadium, just wild.
Yeah, that guy just does a great job all around. I'm excited to watch Red Zone every single day. The guy just doesn't stop talking about. He has everything that he says is just interesting. Anyways, I want to start talking about the actual game because it was intense. Let me start sharing these slides. 1 second.
Slide away.
Share screen.
You're nowhere near your destination, but it's okay, Josh. Keep sliding away.
Oops. Okay. Let me start doing this. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Go
talk. He's a bad man.
How do I make this bigger? 1 second.
Green button. See the green? Top left corner?
No. Oh no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about your faces. I want to make your faces bigger.
Hey, always down to make my face and Vince's faces bigger.
My face is big enough.
There we go. Got him. Gabe, say something.
Hello. How about that Tom Brady? Oh my gosh. We also need to cover like the shenanigans afterwards because that was absolutely absurd. Like
The parade yesterday?
yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, even before we even so first of all, I mean, like Tampa is like such a, I guess, contrast of like wealth and absolute trash. So that makes for just the absolute most absurd weekend and location for a Super Bowl ever. It was also like incredible weather. It only like barely rained like one day. But we were going hard, having the most amazing time, even kind of cut it short after the game because we're just so emotionally exhausted from the entire day. Told Josh earlier, got to meet Megatron. That was awesome. Got to meet Calvin Johnson
Nice.
at the JW. And then I ended up getting a hotel room, like booked it with points. I was like, I'm just going to rest up. I'm going to like work from my hotel room with all of the lights off and just kind of relax for a couple of days. And they announced that they're going to do the parade, like, 48 hours later. So, and my hotel was right there. It was like right there on the water. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not going anywhere. So, did a little bit of work in the morning, put everything in my car and just went. And oh my God, like talk about a friggin' boat party. Like, holy shit. Like, I think they were not supposed to be out there, but there were just hundreds of boats. And fucking Brady's throwing the Super Bowl trophy from one boat to another.
All that,
Gronk is like falling out and on the boat. Like
he
they
was
had
definitely
all these.
on Molly.
Oh my God, it was absolutely absurd. It was
Yeah,
wild.
and how appropriate too. I mean, as the Buccaneers, the team named Buccaneers, are all celebrating on a bunch of boats after winning the Super Bowl. I just thought that was so poetic. I loved it.
The offensive line was in a pirate ship.
Well, Brady was on like his own personal boat, and that was the biggest boat. That's the best part of it.
A big
He's
boat
gone
for
full
the
Florida.
ultimate goat.
Yeah.
So let's get into the game. I wanted to start talking about the one of the coolest I think things about Brady, in my opinion, is that he continues to break records. And in the first quarter, I don't know if you knew this, but he broke a streak of the 9 previous Super Bowls. He had never scored a touchdown in the first quarter. And then he throws a pass to Gronkowski in the first quarter to break that streak. And at the same time, they they break the record for the most all-time passes between touchdown passes in the Super Bowl between a quarterback and a receiver, passing Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. So
Amazing.
like when the guy breaks one record, now he breaks 3 all at the same time. And what a way to start off the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Especially when the debate going in, like everyone was just bringing up, it's not even a stat, it's just a reality. Everyone's like, hey, you get like Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski are the same age. Yet Rob Gronkowski's body was beaten into retirement. He comes back, and although he came on in the second half of the year, like he was still kind of seemed like a shell of himself from obviously his glory days. And Kelsey's coming in. He led the NFL in receiving, right, as the tight end. Like, what the fuck? But then as soon as the big game, although as the lights turn on and the biggest game of the year begins, I mean, all Gronkowski, just all Gronkowski. And Levante David was just all over Kelsey.
This is the dynamic duo now, and probably they can go back as well and do this again if they run it back. So, I mean, to be in any company with Jerry Rice and Joe Montana, that's unbelievable. And now to own the record above them, says even more, right? The greatness of both Gronk and Brady. That's why they both went to Disney World, obviously, or Disneyland, whatever one of those, right?
It's world in Florida.
It's Florida, baby. They're going world. They're going completely world.
All world.
Yeah.
Another storyline I like to talk about is basically the offensive line of the Chiefs kind of just called it in it felt like they called it in this weekend for this game. And
Yeah,
this is a great
ransacked.
juxtaposition. Remember Russell Wilson last year. I don't know if this is last year, but it felt like the same narrative where every single play Tampa Bay was just rushing 4 and they were still getting after him.
Yeah. I mean,
this is a great Photoshop image of what it looked like from Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans, at least. What did it feel like this?
It was, okay. There was literally not a single moment that we did not stop screaming, because there was not a single play that there was not a single great Kansas City play. Like it was unbelievable. And I mean, like we talked about it, on the podcast last week, we were like, look, it's going to be, and it's what everyone's been saying really all over like talk radio and also on ESPN and whatnot. They're talking about the Buccaneers, defensive front, and having Vea back and then just being dynamite across the board, and that allowing for Devin White to step back and be like, oh my God, like seriously, like he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. And then Levante David, they could just put on Kelsey the entire friggin' time. But Mahomes he was just, he ran like 500, almost 500 yards, like scrambling all over the place for his life. He had no chance. We were just screaming the entire game. It was so one-sided. It was so incredible. And anyone who was a Kansas City fan who thought to themselves like, oh, missing Eric Fisher is going to be not a big deal. And we've been bringing in, backups for the entire year. Like, nope, sorry, not going to happen.
Vince, you were pretty critical of Patrick Mahomes' play. What were your thoughts about his performance?
The day of the Super Bowl, watching that, obviously he looked absolutely terrible, but there's a lot of contributing factors to it, right? I think first and foremost that Andy Reid completely was outcoached. He obviously had other things on his mind with his son, Britt Reid, putting 2 children into the hospital and ICU stuff. So obviously he had something else on his mind during that, but not only did he have a terrible game plan, but in second half, he made 0 second half adjustments. When you have a, quarterback who's got turf toe, not as mobile, then you have 3 missing, linemen. You have, both tackles and I believe a guard and then another guard playing the other side. And you actually have one of the backup guards is playing left tackle on the blind side. So you're continuously having Mahomes run for his life, during that, with the pass rush of obviously the Bucs. I mean, Andy Reid didn't put his players in a position to even win. The unbelievable thing is that Mahomes running for his life was still putting throws on the money, right? Where, a lot of passes were dropped. At least 2 touchdowns were dropped to him right in their face. So going back and look at it, Mahomes, right, statistically did not have a good game. I think it was 200 yards and 2 INTs. But honestly, that guy is unbelievable. Any other quarterback would probably be in a wheelchair at this point, because there's no way you run away from that. And the fact that he could throw, like he had the back corner throw to Pringle that was almost caught for a touchdown.
Yep.
He had one that hit Kelsey right in the face, and then
right in the face guard.
Same with Tyreek Hill, I believe, right in the face in the end zone. Those potentially 2 touchdowns easily. So I'll put all of this back on Andy Reid. The big things, that I look at are number one, you look at why the Bucs won. Ryan Jensen, their center, absolutely dominated line of scrimmage when it came against offensive line of Bucs versus the defensive line of the Chiefs. They were running all over 4.4 yards per carry, and then Fournette running out. But Ryan Jensen set the tone by absolutely brutalizing the defensive line. On the flip side, Vita Vea never even allowed the Chiefs to get a running attack going. Completely stalwart at the front of the attack, literally no running game at all. So the only option was to throw. And then if you threw, right, then you had Levante David actually chasing all those down. And that guy's an absolute animal, running all around, the field. I can't even believe, I think he's only 22 or something of that sort.
Oh, that's Devin White. Yeah.
Devin White. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Devin White. 22 years old. Running around the field, multiple tackles, picking the end zone to end it. That guy is unbelievable. I would say is probably the MVP over Tom Brady, but because it's Tom Brady, he'll get the MVP.
Yeah.
It was
Patrick Mahomes didn't have his normal tackles to help him, but and as a result, here's some crazy stats. They put Patrick Mahomes under pressure 16 out of 47 dropbacks, which comes out to like 32.7% of the time. Now, in contrast, Brady was only pressured 3 of his 21 dropbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, combining that with the without the lead tackles protecting Mahomes, it led to an average. Okay, so it led to an average time of throwing time of 3.47 seconds for Patrick Mahomes. So it took him 3.4 seconds on average to get rid of the ball, and he's 1 in 3 in his career when it's less than 3.5 seconds. So you're cutting down the time it take you're giving Patrick Mahomes to actually throw the ball, and you're only rushing 4 guys at the same time. So that allowed Tampa Bay to put 2 high safeties on their wide receivers on 87% of the plays, which was an all-time high, which essentially shut down Tyreek Hill. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just, we were healthy. We were completely healthy. Having Winfield back in the backfield, I think even, what's his name? All our other safety that was also Jordan Whitehead. I'm pretty sure he was healthy as well. I mean, actually going back to your guys' point, I don't recall hearing anyone either during the game or even in any of the coverage after the game mentioning a single thing about a Chiefs running back. Like they did not even exist in the entire game. Another thing, like keep in mind, dude, the Bucks dropped their first trip to the red zone. Joe Haig, their lineman, dropped the ball. Like they settled for a field goal. And then on another
on 4th and 1.
Yeah. And then 4th and 1, they get stuffed. And like that was probably the only moment that I was just like, uh-oh, like, we risked it, didn't get the biscuit. What's going to happen? Like, is that going to bite us in the ass? But I mean, it ended up being a blowout, and the Chiefs did not even get into the end zone. That's insane. And Shaq Barrett. Yeah, if you have Shaq Barrett, JPP, Ndamukong Suh, and Vita Vea lining up every single play, like this is what it felt like to me watching Patrick Mahomes. Let me pull this up. 1 second. What the hell? Come on, man. Come on. Do you see this? Crap. Wait. Wrong one. That's Antonio Brown.
Computer is flaking on me right now. All right. You see this? You guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is what it felt like watching Patrick Mahomes this game.
In trouble, get more pressure. Throws a laser beam. Dropped. Mahomes. He dropped the ball. Here's Mahomes from 3rd and 19. Incomplete through the hand. 4th and 9. Chasing after him. Mahomes in trouble. Flings it across his body.
Behind the back.
More pressure. Throws a laser beam. Dropped.
That's what it felt like, man.
Yep.
He was
putting them on the money too, which is I just can't. Unbelievable, some of those throws. But then again, I will say like, I don't know, that Super Bowl, because it was dominated in that fashion, it didn't have like the pizzazz of all the other Super Bowls. Not that we're gonna discredit a win, because a win's a win, no question, right? It's a Super Bowl, but like from an entertainment perspective, it didn't have all the like must watch. I admit I did walk away every now and then from it to come back, because like, I mean, it was pretty much over. Right when Andy Reid was doing the timeouts before half and giving Tom Brady extra time to think about the next play, man. I was like, dude, like,
about that.
Reid, you are throwing in the white flag right now. You're giving the king of the 2-minute drill extra time to think about the possession, you are essentially waving the white flag. And so once I saw that, I was like, oh man, this is going to go downhill real fast.
I mean, you remember we were talking about this in the Packers game. It's funny enough, exactly what Andy Reid was doing in the Super Bowl was what Bruce Arians did in the NFC Championship. He had so much confidence in his defense that he was like, let's call some timeouts. Murphy Bunting had that turnover, and it turned into a Bucs touchdown right before half, which was like, you know, I mean, that won them the game. Clearly Reid, like the difference between Arians in that game and Reid in this game is that Arians had, I mean, a sensational defense that was dominating, or could be dominant. Reid, not so much. And then, I mean, couple of calls, the Evans, the first play. So, I mean, Brady had Evans open for a touchdown. And then what's his name stumbled, made contact with his legs, you know, dropped him out. That moved the ball down there. The one in the end zone was definitely iffy. So, I mean, they gave the Bucs that one. And then, I mean, we score, like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, we also have to talk about, we wouldn't do our due diligence if we didn't talk about the penalties that the Chiefs incurred on. And they basically took themselves out of the game as well. They had 8 penalties for 95 yards, and including that one on 4th down where Tampa Bay was kicking a field goal, and it was an offsides, I think, for 5 yards, resulting in a first down, and then Tom Brady scores a touchdown right afterwards.
Yep. That was Harmon, I think, right? He jumped off sides. Like, he was way off sides. It was an easy call. Like, that's the thing. For as many calls as that there might have been questionable, like it could have gone one way or the other. I mean, let's be real here. Like, the Chiefs did not look like the Chiefs. Like, they were being undisciplined. They were not playing well. And that translated directly to penalties. That is just so unlike them, especially in an Andy Reid offense after the year they had. Like, it blew my mind.
The one thing for me is like, because this one actually hurts, is the Chiefs have been I believe they've been the number 1 team in regards to penalties or holdings or anything in the secondary out of any team. And so they did exactly that last year against the Niners, and none of that was called. And there are blatant ones that, you know, should have been called, weren't called. And, you know, that's probably another reason we lost. But then again, you go to this side right now, they're called. So it's like, guys, you can't have it both ways, right? You didn't get them called against the Niners last year and you won. Now they're being called this year, and some of them happened, maybe some didn't, but that's kind of how it goes. And so you just have to move on. But regardless of those calls, it's all still goes back to the Andy Reid game plan. Purely that. It really what it is, it's called coaching arrogance, right? It's saying for 2 weeks, my D is bigger than your D. We're going to come up and blow you out of the water. And in all reality was they looked completely they were completely outcoached. They weren't prepared at all to play that game whatsoever. If they were prepared, one, he would have looked at chip shots, right? They ran only 5 linemen 92% of the time. He would have stacked tight ends, at least on the side, to make sure that you could chip a DN, maybe chip Shaq Barrett, right? Instead of having Mahomes run all over the place, especially when this guy's having surgery, or he just did yesterday on turf toe, right? So it's like, these are simple coaching things that you would think someone that they call Andy Reid a genius would actually think of. And he was completely outcoached. Like he was like a Matt LaFleur.
Dude, yeah, had the least like aesthetically pleasing mask on his face. It looked like a turkey gobbler was hanging from his fucking neck. It was awful.
Well, Andy Reid can go eat another cheeseburger,
but he's not a looker to begin with. So
no.
Yeah, I mean, neither is Arians to an extent, but I guess he's got some character with that snazzy hat and those glasses, and he's been like a walking Bud Light commercial for the last 2.5 days. It's incredible. Him and Light are just absolutely sloshed on their own boat, just going vertical with like, you know, Bud Light Buccaneers, like, you know, tin bottles and stuff. I mean, Todd Bowles was just absolutely incredible. Like, you know, you had like Kelsey, like I said earlier, you know, leading receiver / tight end in the NFL, puts Levante David on him. He's all over the entire game, frees up Devin White to just wreak havoc everywhere, like literally cancels out their number one receiving threat. And then you have Hill, who's their number, I guess, 1B receiving threat, who just obviously can take the top off. And between Winfield Jr. At safety, just hawking him, and then switching off between Bunting, Davis, and Dean whenever they needed to, like they had him covered for the entire game. And nothing was sweeter than Antoine Winfield Jr., who's going to be a stud. He's already a stud. Like he's a rookie. That's outrageous. Him putting the two fingers up in Tyreek Hill's face, because that's exactly what Hill did when he had 275 receiving yards and like 2 or 3 touchdowns in week 12 or whenever they played earlier in the year.
Poetic
like,
justice.
That was so sweet. Like what a great penalty. If you're gonna do a taunting penalty, do it right there where it's like, see you later, buddy.
I think I remember the coach actually cheering his what's his name? Who did that?
Winfield Jr.
Sign up. Who?
Antoine Winfield Jr.
Antoine Winfield Jr. did that, and he comes over to the sideline. Normally, a coach, kind of gives you shit for causing a penalty, but I saw him give the biggest high five to one of his, I think, the defensive coordinator.
Oh man, yeah. The fact that the rookie did that to Tyreek Hill after Tyreek Hill was the one like doing the Shannon Sharp impression on the sideline in Raymond James Stadium like earlier this year.
Yeah,
he was having such a big game. Like, he had it coming, and Tyreek Hill knows that. I haven't even heard an interview from him, but I would imagine he knows exactly. He knows he deserved exactly what he got because they just put up a dud.
All right. Well, this will be a good transition to from what Kansas City did wrong to what Tampa Bay did right. But first, you can see there's a bit of frustration brewing from the Kansas City early on with what's this guy's name again? Fucking Tyrann Mathieu.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shaking his finger, and Tom Brady. You don't do this. You don't do that to the GOAT. And I can't tell you how like out of character I thought it was for Brady to kind of go chase after him, but fucking fired me up, man.
Oh, I loved it.
I loved it.
He runs all the way across the field to go right back. Because I mean, like Matthew's looking at his team, and both on the offense and defense, and they're getting nothing. And they're an away team, even though they're supposed to be the home Super Bowl team. They're an away team in the opponent's stadium, and nothing is going right for them. So, it's just like in basketball as well. Like, if the Clippers are down, that Patrick Beverly is going to put that chip on his shoulder, get in the other team's face, try to knock them off their game, and get a little bit more aggressive to get a mental edge or maybe fire up his team. That's what Matthew was trying to do. Completely backfired, because Brady was like, oh, you think I'm just going to act like a 43-year-old? No, I'm going to run across the field and scream in your face because.
And then Matthew gets a flag, obviously.
Yep. It's funny, Brady, after this, he wrote a lengthy apology to Tyrann Mathieu about it. And it's just such a Brady thing. It's in-game FU. And then after, great job. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I got to be better than that. It's just, that's such a Brady way of doing things.
Wait, actually,
yeah, maybe he'll mature a little bit over the next 20 years.
I love it. I'm all about Brady. If someone gets that apology and they're like, screw you, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, I know it was a heat battle, but who cares?
Yeah, I think the actual audio came out of their tussle. Let me just throw it up here.
Yeah, what'd he say?
Let me know if you guys can't hear this.
Oh, well, may I offer to text your girlfriend? I can show her all the rings. He talked to my girlfriend? That's mean. Boy, that's mean. Tom Brady, that's so mean. Oh, well, may I offer to text your girlfriend? I can show her all the rings.
One more time.
He talked to my girlfriend? That's mean. Boy, that's mean. Tom Brady, that's so mean. Oh.
Tom Brady is such an eloquent shit talker. I mean, it just proves it right there.
That is great. I love bad lip reading NFL. So good. All right, so let's start talking about. Wait, not that yet.
Ooh.
Well, let's just talk about Tom Brady in general, or the Buccaneers at first. The Bucks, they use play action on 43.3% of dropbacks this game, and they only did that 11.9% against KC in Week 12. And Brady was only pressured 3 of his 21 dropbacks, like I mentioned. 85% of his air passes traveling less than 10 yards, which enabled him to strike strategically on long passes, going 3 for 33. I mean, 3 for 3 for 64 yards and a touchdown. I guess let's start with how do we dissect and rate the Tampa Bay offense?
Well, yeah, I mean, every analyst will say, and every former pro will say that a run game leads to play action. And if there's one thing that the Bucks had not figured out the last time that these two teams played was their run game. Like Rojo was playing pretty consistent, but then he was knocked out. Fournette was like benched. He was even deactivated for a game. He was just like a healthy scratch. And then when they came back from their bye week, they did not lose for the rest of the year all the way through the Super Bowl. A lot of that had to do with Fournette coming on and having consistency between not just their starting running back, but then also their 1B running back, especially when Rojo was injured. They were just eating up and tearing up the Kansas City defense. And then that just opened up so much more over the top. Godwin wasn't even really that active in the game. Evans had some sick catches, but I think Brady only had like 300 receiving yards. Frankly, like or passing yards. They just didn't need it. It was just so efficient. They took complete advantage of everything that was given to them. And that Fournette run was boss. And I was in that end zone, and that was absolutely just bonkers. Everyone just going insane. By the way, I went to the game with 4 Kansas City fans. We felt bad. Like we were consoling them, like, midway through the third quarter, like, really sorry guys, but this is you just have to embrace this now, because the cannons are about to explode behind you and there's nothing you can do about it. And the whole playing at home and winning at home this is bigger than Kansas City.
And you can tell too, right? The play action was the big thing. I mean, they're playing off Tyrann Mathieu just for how aggressive he is. That's why you saw 2 touchdowns to Gronk. That's exactly how that play action was going to work. One of them was across the back of the end zone. I know the other one's, in the beginning of the end zone, him just running in off the 5-yard line. But that's the touchdowns to the tight end tell you everything about the play action there. But that's really just an aggressive defense, specifically around Tyrann Mathieu taking chances and getting beat, right? I mean, you even saw that Antonio Brown cooked him in the end zone on that quick 5-yard in, right?
Yeah.
He bit out, went out, then back in. So I think, Tyrann Mathieu played a little too, like headhunter-ish, kind of on his own, not really following game plan, being a little too loose, which allowed for that play action to work even better, having the safety come all the way down and then firing it over the top of it. But, yeah, I mean, just this is Brady, right? Every year, every in and out, right? Always gets better as the year goes. Towards the end, it's just steady Eddie. Keep doing those things. Don't show everything, and then getting to the playoffs where kind of everything starts to come together perfectly. Even to where they ran the ball decently, but at the end of the game, that's where they could really be reliant upon it, right? As Gabe talked about, Fournette scoring that touchdown on the run there. That's where they could really start showing and dominating that time of possession. But this game was over at half. I mean, Andy Reid with the timeouts did the white flag, and that was that. So, it's great to see Brady get another one, but all of this still falls on Andy Reid. It's just a brutal coaching.
Apparently Antonio Brown ran the wrong route on that play. That's what everyone, some of the coaches were talking about it afterwards. It wasn't Arians. It wasn't Leftwich either. Yeah. I don't know if it was him, but they just flat out said, they were just like, he was cracking up and he was like, Antonio ran the wrong route there. But that's what Tom Brady does. He's if you get open. And so he ran the wrong route, but he still got Matthew. very intentionally were they putting Antonio Brown straight at Matthew, and then still got him on to bite, moved in, turn around. Brady's like, there you are, and just zipped it right in there for a touchdown. Just right at Matthew. Love
you got to
it.
feel bad for those.
From Brady from a general.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, but Brady you're okay. And Brady from a general perspective, I know this game is about two teams, but there's two other teams are actually the biggest losers. Number one is Bill Belichick of the Patriots, right? Just basically said, hey, Brady, we don't need you anymore. You can go. We're done. You don't have it. You're 43. Nothing left. The second is Shanahan and Lynch of the Niners. They had an opportunity to bring Brady in. Brady wanted to go to San Francisco after the Patriots. They decided to stick with Jimmy Garoppolo. You know how that went. So those are the two other teams are the biggest losers in regards to, Brady and the Bucs winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, buddy, Vince, you better believe that. So, one of the sweet parts as well of the entire, experience was the Hall of Fame induction. Very specifically, John Lynch. Loved meeting Megatron in an elevator. That was amazing. Thanks him for all of the cool stuff that he's doing in terms of kind of retired players and bringing awareness to not only how, medicinal cannabis and all that stuff. Fun little conversation in the elevator. But Johnny Lynch getting inducted in the stadium where he just struck fear into people for that Buccaneers run when we were just absolutely studly year in and year out with Dungy and Gruden. You better believe he was watching that, soaking it in, realizing how close they were 2 years ago, how just ransacked with injuries they were last year, how close they're going to be next year. He's taken all of that energy and getting right to work in San Francisco. I think they've got to, especially if the carousel stops in San Francisco with some upgraded quarterback from Garoppolo, they've got to be front runners with, LA Rams now that they brought in Stafford. Bucks obviously probably going to return the majority of their guys because once you win a Super Bowl, people want to take a pay cut. But yeah, I'm afraid of the Niners. I'm afraid of John Lynch.
Yeah, we'll see too. I know the one like you were talking about the Hall of Fame piece. He had a Zoom conference call that was here with I think it was with Bay Area reporters, but he essentially threw Shanahan under the bus about how when he went to Lubbock, Texas, to see Patrick Mahomes throw in his pro day and was like, "Hey, I think we should rethink our whole entire philosophy. You should definitely look more into Patrick Mahomes." So basically, what he's stating is like Shanahan wants to get his own guy. He thinks he's got the playbook that's a Bible, and he's the nerd in the classroom who only says I form everyone. I do this right. I'm the winner. Whereas you have other coaches like Bruce Arians, right? Great play caller, but says Brady, you can coach at these times, or Brady, you have this ability. The same goes with Andy Reid, where he allows Mahomes to kind of make those plays and not take like, oh, it's all about Reid. It's more about Mahomes. And I think that's one of the downfalls of Shanahan, where he looks at players like Kirk Cousins, he looks at players like Jimmy Garoppolo, and he wants to be the one that took them to the Super Bowl or won the Super Bowl, rather than getting the actual supreme talent like Patrick Mahomes or someone like Deshaun Watson, whatever it may be. As Shanahan continues to hide behind his playbook, and I think that's one of the biggest downfalls of Shanahan's career so far, of not being able to win the big game. I think, especially when you talk about the Super Bowl with Atlanta, he's the one that basically put them in that position to lose. So we'll see. Lynch, I pretty much with that comment separated himself and put Shanahan right under the bus. So there might be some turmoil coming.
Who do you think? Do you think? Because I was just thinking. Do you think they trade for like a Matt Ryan? Because obviously you want like a Watson. You want one of these big names that could potentially be on the move. But if you're unable to get the guy you want, or if it's going to take too much capital that it's just going to absolutely either cripple your team now or for the future, do you make a move for Matt Ryan to reunite him with Shanahan? And would you be okay with that as a Niners fan?
Yeah, you would think they would do something like that. They probably won't, just because his cap number is too big. But just kind of going off what I was saying, I think what will happen is, Shanahan loves Kirk Cousins, so they'll either trade for Kirk Cousins. I don't know why. Or they'll go and draft someone within the draft and then have Shanahan mold them. So then it's still Shanahan leading as like Shanahan brought us to a Super Bowl, right? not Patrick Mahomes or not Deshaun. I would love for them to go, mortgage the entire future and go get Deshaun Watson. I think that puts you as Andy Reid and Mahomes are, that powerhouse of the AFC, excuse me. Then you have basically the exact same type of combination of Shanahan and Deshaun from a running quarterback, fully a generational talent and unbelievable play caller in Shanahan and Deshaun Watson of that in the NFC. So those would be mirror images of each other. And I think it's worth it mortgaging it. At the end of the day, more than likely what happens is that they probably keep Jimmy G for 1 year and then draft a quarterback so that Shanahan can have the spotlight. And certainly it's looking that way. It's unfortunate for us Niners fans because we have people in their prime like Fred Warner and Kittle, and others that you don't want to waste, right? You never want to waste the primes of the players that you have. And so that's one thing that all of us look at is how do you not waste it? Like, I love what the Rams did. You have Aaron Donald. He's the best defensive player in the NFL. Go get Stafford, right? Goff's not going to cut it. Huge contract. Throw in an extra first. Go get Stafford. Now go for a run for it. That's the way you run a team. Hopefully, right? We'll see what the Rams do, but I liked how aggressive they were, saying, hey, we can get something that we know is good in Stafford, but you do not know what that first pick will become, right? There's always an option of it being a bust. And certainly in the year that the Niners could have selected Patrick Mahomes, it took Solomon Thomas, who's no longer on the team.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, yeah. Fucking Niners.
I will have to we'll have to do another episode of off-season moves and predictions. But what is your number one biggest blockbuster prediction for the off-season?
Ooh. I don't know. Maybe I've watched a couple of, I think Adam Schefter proposed just an absolute blockbuster trade of, I think it was Dak Prescott for Deshaun Watson. Like, oh my God, like how insane would that be? My prediction, just, out of love for my cousins that were that had been stricken and cursed with Jets fandom since the early 1970s. I'm just going to put it out into the universe that Deshaun Watson is going to go to the New York Jets and just ride or die with that.
I could see that happening for sure. I guess the best package.
Yeah, as a Tampa Bay fan, you're kind of just like, okay, we don't need to win for a while, or you feel like bad for
number two. You got it.
No, yeah, I'm well, yeah. I mean, if Bucks are going to bring everyone back, they're almost everyone back. Number one priority is Godwin.
Does it feel like you stole a Super Bowl with Brady? Does it feel that way?
No, not at all. Like, I mean, like this team was so friggin' good. And we had such an awful quarterback in Jameis Winston that not only, decided to just throw an interception for every single touchdown he made, he was a terrible leader. And like, he did not make any sense. Like when he was doing like pregame speed, like, have you ever seen that one in New Orleans in the Superdome? Like it was embarrassing. It was mortifying. And then meanwhile, like, just like Vince was talking about how you have these like players in their prime, that you're just blowing it because, you have a quarterback who just cannot get his, he can just not be under control and he can't play conservatively. Like, Brady has made his career of knowing when he needs to pass out of his mind and when he doesn't. Jameis doesn't have that gene. Not many people do, but he does not even have an inkling of that gene. He's just constantly throwing passes that can get intercepted. That's why I'm very happy that Sean Payton said that Jameis was going to be in the Saints, future, because frankly, take him, have him, hate him. But our team was stacked and we had a Levante David, who was an outstanding borderline Pro Bowl linebacker for how many years, but he's now, in his early 30s, I believe. And he got to win a Super Bowl. That's incredible. Corners are all extremely young. Don't have to worry about contracts there. Carlton Davis might be coming up. But then really the number one priorities is like Chris Godwin. Got to bring him back and figure out a way. Mike Evans has already said that he will restructure his contract a second time because he loves this team so much. Maybe Antonio Brown comes back. I don't know if other teams still want him. Frankly, he might even say, like, I just want to keep playing with Brady. There's a lot of benefits to guys taking a pay cut to play at least one more year with Brady and then, making some money elsewhere. For
And
Fournette,
especially in Florida, right, with no income taxes.
Yep.
Exactly. There's no income tax, so you can take the pay cut and still make as much money. So do I feel like we stole one with Brady? Like, no. I mean, Brady came down and pitched the Bucks. Our roster has been so stacked, and you better believe that Arians and Jason Light had their eyes on Brady as this long shot just for a long time. And if we had Jameis, never would have happened. Zero chance Jameis Winston wins the
Just
Super
to
Bowl
stir
with
the
this
pot a
team.
little bit, like you just mentioned and made the argument for Brady actually is an endorsement for other players in the twilight of the career who may want to like a chance at another championship. He did bring in Gronk and he did bring in Antonio Brown, who both caught 3 touchdowns. Combined in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. We traded for Gronk. Like, people forget that. Like, I mean, Fournette, was dropped by Jacksonville and everyone, hated him. We brought him across I-4 and, he came to Tampa. And now now everyone's like, oh, the stud, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was awful for the first half of the year. And then Brown only paid for us half the year. I mean, like, Brady targeted the shit out of him for the second half of the year. But, we won 2 games without him, 1 or 2 games without him in the playoffs. There might be more people on the horizon. However, keep in mind, so Gronk's contract, I think, ends this year. He was hitting us with $8 to $9 million on the salary cap. Gronk's not going anywhere. He's never going to play for another quarterback. So he's going to come back to the Bucks. He'll take a severe pay cut. We have OJ Howard as well. Like, people forget that. His contract might be run up at the end of the year, but there's a good chance OJ Howard looks at this and goes, I'm not going to get much more money to go elsewhere. I want to come back to the Bucks and be a part of the team winning. He got his ring. So we could be even better than this year, which is absolutely insane to think about. But when you have anchors on defense like White and Winfield that are rookies or second years, you have young secondary that you don't have to spend a shitload of money on. Light has done an incredible job of creating a roster from a front office perspective and a cap perspective that you can bring in a Brady for 2 years, $25 million each, potentially extend him if you want to, and still have more than enough firepower to compete next year. And my biggest thing is, when do the Bucks bring in their guy to inevitably? I mean, it's the predicament that unfortunately the Patriots were really just, I guess, cursed with in the best way possible for the past 10 years. When is Brady going to retire? Who are you bringing in? They got rid of Mallett.
Right.
They got rid of Garoppolo.
You got to bring him in this year. You got to draft a quarterback at least this year, right?
Don't you? And do you think Brady's going to be cool with it? I mean, I feel like he's got to be cool with it, right? Yeah. We'll see what happens.
I mean, how many years did Rodgers play under Favre? Or how many years was Rodgers benched?
It's 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
It was longer, yeah, because Mahomes was only 1 behind Alex Smith, right? It was only 1 year, maybe 2. But Rodgers was behind him for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
What's crazy is I think the biggest free agent for Tampa is Shaq Barrett. So that's the one that you probably have to bring him back. But other than that, pretty much everyone's there. The thing that's interesting, I know a lot of people, maybe they're talking about this, maybe they're not. I know on this show, we're not the biggest LeBron, fan favorites, but there's only 2 athletes all time who've been able to do this. So you think about LeBron, he went to the Cavs, and he started up the big 3 in Miami, then went back to the Cavs, then goes to the Lakers. He has the ability to bring on anyone at any point in time for minimum vet salaries. Tom Brady is doing the exact same thing in the NFL, bringing on Antonio Brown. Obviously, Gronk only came out of retirement to be traded to the Bucs, and that's only because of Brady. So Brady is really kind of GMing some of this as well. And those are the only 2 athletes where they've won in 2 different locations, building it in their fashion. And that's kind of the beauty of Brady now, right? people want to play with Brady. They'll play for a low salary. They'll play for whatever the vet min is, right? Just to ensure that they're in kind of a championship season, or at least have the opportunity to win a championship. Very much like LeBron does it, as he did with the Lakers, right? Bringing on J.R. Smith, bringing on all these other guys that he previously played with. So only two athletes who have done it successfully. You can remember Michael Jordan didn't even do it successfully, right? He was with the Bulls. Of course, he came back, I think, in 96 and they won. So he won a sixth title, but then he came back and played for the Wizards and did not, obviously older, but wasn't able to bring in the people that he thought, did not win in that capacity. Only two players have actually done that in two different sports, Tom Brady and LeBron James.
Yeah.
And
if you're Brady too, like, I don't know. I mean, it's a perfect team that Light put together, which included, by the way, the offensive line. Like, I mean, he had, a 5-year starter. We drafted him second round out of Penn State, and Donovan Smith. We got Tristan Wirfs, he was the fourth tackle taken this year. He dropped to us. I remember we were like, oh my God, like, how did he drop? You have a perfect offensive line to protect him, elongate his career. I don't know why other players wouldn't want to come over to the Bucs for a season. Give it a shot. Why not?
And you probably have 3 or 4 more years of Brady, to be honest.
Why not? Why not? If they're keeping him on his feet the way that they were for this entire off season, oh my God, why not?
Well, by the looks of it yesterday, of how big of a lightweight he is, he's definitely still on the TB12 of that avocado ice cream. So I think you're in good hands.
He can house one beer. As soon as he has more than that, donezo.
Yep, Tequila Tom.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate your time today. Gabe, congrats on the victory.
Yep, congrats.
I'm so jealous. But
can't wait to tell you guys all of the other stories from the weekend, because they are fun, but I will not be speaking towards the camera.
Those can't be recorded.
Yeah.
No transcript.
It was such a wild weekend. It was so fun. All right,
guys. Well, thanks for joining us again, and thanks for everyone for listening and sticking with us. Please like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, guys. Go Bucs.